Tomorrow morning, before you decide anything, your body will already be moving. Your eyes won't be fully open yet. You won't have formed a single real thought. And your hand will already be reaching for something. You do it every single day, in the same order, without ever choosing it. So what is the very first thing you do when you wake up? Most people answer that question wrong. Because the honest answer happens before you are awake enough to notice it. And that first move, the one you never think about, quietly reveals more about you than anything you will say out loud all day. Here's the strange part. The first few minutes of your morning are the most honest minutes you have. Not because you are trying to be honest, but because the part of your brain that edits you is still offline. The part that picks your words, hides your habits, and manages how you come across to everyone else. It wakes up slowly. And until it does, something older runs the show. Your defaults. The real you, before the performance of the day begins. So let us walk through one ordinary morning, room by room, and read what each move is actually saying about you. It starts here, in the dark, with the sound that drags you out of sleep. Your alarm. And the first decision of your entire day is one you make with your eyes still shut. Fight it, or obey it. If your hand slaps the snooze button before you are even conscious, you might call that laziness. It is not. That heavy, thick-headed feeling actually has a name. Scientists call it sleep inertia. Kenneth Wright, a sleep researcher at the University of Colorado, studied this exact moment. He found that in the first minutes after you wake, your mental sharpness can be worse than if you had pulled an all-nighter. Your brain is still rebooting, region by region, like a building turning its lights on one floor at a time. So the snooze is not a character flaw. It is your brain quietly admitting it is not online yet. But what your hand reaches for next, that is where the real confession begins. Because for most people, the first thing the hand finds is not the snooze button. It is the phone. Reach, glow, scroll. Before water, before the bathroom, before a single word to another human being. Studies of phone habits keep finding the same thing, again and again. A huge share of people check their screen within minutes of opening their eyes. And the reason your hand does it is chemical. When you wake, your brain is running low and hunting for a spark. A glowing screen is the fastest spark there is. Anna Lembke, a psychiatrist at Stanford, describes the phone as a kind of pocket-sized dopamine drip. Every notification is a tiny hit of reward, and your half-asleep brain grabs it gratefully. But here is the catch she points to. The more your brain chases those quick little hits, the flatter its baseline mood becomes. So the morning scroll that is supposed to wake you up actually leaves you needing more of it just to feel normal. And think about what that very first reach really reveals. If the first thing you do is pour the entire world's noise into your head, before you have heard a single thought of your own, it shows you whose priorities you have quietly placed first. Not yours. Everyone else's. And while all of this is happening on the outside, something is rising inside you that you never feel directly. You cannot see it. But it may be the single biggest event in your body all morning. In the first 30 to 45 minutes after you open your eyes, your body floods itself with a sharp spike of a hormone called cortisol. Scientists named it the cortisol awakening response. Researchers like Angela Clow and Clemens Kirschbaum measured it in saliva across thousands of ordinary mornings. And it is not stress in the way you usually mean that word. It is ignition. It is your body's built-in engine starting up, getting your blood and your focus and your energy ready to face the day. But here is what almost nobody realizes. What you do in those first few minutes decides what that spike becomes. Reach for stressful emails and bad news the second you wake, and you pour fuel onto an already rising fire. That clean burst of ignition curdles into anxiety before you have even stood up. Your very first inputs decide whether your body's morning engine becomes focus or dread. Now you are finally on your feet, and you meet the first face of your day. Your own. You stand at the mirror, and something happens that is so automatic you would swear it was not happening at all. You narrate a quick thought about your face, your hair, the day ahead, the kind of person looking back at you. Nobody ever taught you to do it. But you do it every morning, in a voice so familiar you do not even hear it as a voice. And the tone of that voice reveals something enormous about you. Is your inner narrator a coach or a critic? Ethan Kross, a psychologist at the University of Michigan, spent years studying that inner voice. And he found a surprisingly small trick that changes everything. When you talk to yourself using your own name, instead of the word I, you create a tiny bit of distance. And from that distance, the harsh critic gets quieter and the calmer coach gets clearer. So the words you choose on yourself, before anyone else in the world has spoken to you, set the emotional weather for everything that follows. Your morning mirror was never really about your face. It is about who is allowed to speak to you first. From the mirror, you drift toward the kitchen, and here you do something you could honestly do in your sleep. And in a way, you basically are. The same mug, the same spot, the same exact order every single day. Coffee or tea, or the same drawer you open without ever looking. So why is so much of your morning running on perfect autopilot? Wendy Wood, a researcher at the University of Southern California, spent decades on exactly this question. Her work suggests that around 43% of what you do each day is not a fresh decision at all. It is a habit triggered automatically by your surroundings. Same place, same cue, same action, running before your conscious mind has even joined in. The kitchen does not wait for you to decide anything. The room itself reaches into you and pulls the behavior out. And that reveals something far kinder than you would expect. All that autopilot is not a sign that you are some kind of robot. It is your brain saving its limited willpower for the things that truly need a real choice. Your kitchen is just quietly showing you how much of your life it has already automated, so you do not have to think at 6 in the morning. And then you reach the last room of the whole tour. The door. The border between your morning and the world's demands. And how you feel standing right here tells you something your alarm clock never will. Are you sharp, awake, and genuinely ready? Or are you dragging a body out the door that was never willing to leave yet? Because not everyone is built for the same morning. Till Roenneberg, a body clock scientist in Munich, studies what is called your chronotype. Some people are genuinely wired to wake early, and some are wired to wake late, and that wiring is mostly not your fault. He even gave a name to the gap between your body clock and your alarm clock. He calls it social jet lag. If you are a night-wired person forced into an early bird schedule, you live in a permanent, low-grade jet lag you never flew anywhere to earn. So that heavy feeling at the door is not weakness. It is the size of the gap between the life you are living and the clock you were born with. So here is the twist you might not have seen coming. You probably think your morning routine is just a set of things that you do. It is closer to something you confess. Each move, the snooze, the scroll, the mirror, the mug, the door, is a small and honest report on who you are when nobody is watching and your guard is still down. Your evening self is carefully curated. Your morning self is raw. If you ever want to know what a person actually values, do not ask them at dinner when their inner editor is wide awake. Watch the first 10 minutes after their alarm. But there is good news hiding inside all of this. If that first move is a confession, then it is also a key. Because the first action does not stand alone, it tips the next one and the next like a long row of dominoes. BJ Fogg, a behavior scientist at Stanford, calls these existing actions your anchors. And your morning is already full of them, fixed points you hit at the same time every single day. So you do not have to overhaul your entire personality. You just have to move one domino. Put the phone across the room tonight, and tomorrow the first thing your hand finds becomes a glass of water, or the light switch, or the door. Change the very first move, and slowly, quietly, you start to change what there is to confess. So tomorrow morning, before you decide anything, your body will already be moving. Your eyes will not be fully open. You will not have formed a single real thought. And your hand will already be reaching out for something. But now you know what that reach is really saying. So when your hand moves out into the dark, before the world has told you who to be that day, let it reach for the person you are actually trying to become.